Sometimes, most times, it's best to wait till the end of the story to make a judgment. What might at first seem like overreacting becomes a bit more, let's say, appropriate as the story goes. Take Harry Potter, for example. Professor Snape is on what seems to be a baseless and unwarranted campaign against Harry for most of the series, until you find out that as a kid he had been bullied by Harry's father and his love for Harry's mother had been spurned. There's usually a reason. I'm sorry for the Harry Potter spoilers, everybody. For the bulk of Dead Man's Shoes, Shane Meadows' psychological shaky cam thriller, we see Richard, played by a damaged-looking Paddy Considine, co-writer with Meadows, seeking and plotting revenge against a goofy circus of minor criminals. In a series of black and white Super 8 flashbacks, the gang has lured Anthony, Richard's mentally challenged brother, into their party house. They mess around with him, as any group of people with no ethics and almost no real power in the world might do to someone with even less power than they have. The audience gets a little bit more of the story each time it cuts to that day's events, but as shitty as their actions are, Richard seems a little overzealous about his revenge, especially when it starts to turn deadly. Anthony, for all of his trouble, seems to have escaped that day with no apparent physical trauma. But the bonds of family are strong, and the feeling of duty to protect someone close like a sibling, especially one that can't watch out for himself, is a powerful motivator. Richard decides to put on a gas mask and starts toying with the group, scaring them and vandalizing their homes, and even them personally at one point early on, painting several to look like clowns, appropriate for a group of 6 who spend the bulk of the film crammed into a tiny car. With the mask and his ability to remain a step ahead of his targets, Richard comes off like a deluded small-town Batman. As he starts killing the members of the gang, the balance of reason and vengeance begins to tip in a negative direction. The more you get to see of Anthony's awful day, the more the scale evens back up. When Richard gets to the final guy, the one who escaped the criminal life and was against what the gang did to Anthony but did nothing, the audience gets the final piece of the story, which gives Richard something of an excuse for his rampage, but also shows the extent to which his psyche has been damaged by his brother's fate. That's it.
That's it.
I love Shrek's abrupt endings.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was just getting comfortable.
Yeah, it's like crescendo, 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 coitus.
I personally think, guys, I mean, through my experience of the 3 films, I found this one to be the most creative and probably the best out of the 3. Am I wrong, Joe?
Yeah, man, I did too. Not the best produced, obviously.
No, not at all.
Absolutely the best film, and that just goes to show you that production. Well, Death Wish wasn't anything to really marvel at as production-wise either. But I mean, they were both big. The one was a big budget film. Death Wish was sort of big budget, and the other one had a serious budget. But this guy actually just took to true guerrilla filmmaking.
Absolutely,
and
he got a little creative. Thankfully, it's a decent script, and it winds up being probably one of the better revenge films that I've ever screened personally.
Yeah, well, it just to the point that I was making before. These revenge films, they can be gratifying and wish fulfillment. Like you get to live out your fantasies and exact revenge on on people, on your enemies and everything. But it doesn't mean that they need to be dumb. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And just empty and meaningless, and that was the point that I made with Death Wish. And here you have a guy who has very limited means, but understands what makes a revenge film or revenge tale good. Because again, these films go back to Hamlet and fucking the beginning of time, really, you know. And it always the most interesting thing to me. Look, I love acting out in my fantasies of exacting revenge as much as the next guy, but as a sentient being, somebody who has a brain who likes to at least think that they have a brain in their head, there's a little bit something more dimensional to it, and that's where this film is actually really inventive, and it surprised me, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it's vigilante, the idea around what the vigilante is doing. It's shifting throughout the story, and the flashback scenes are
that last couple of minutes, man, is good filmmaking. Period.
Yeah.
No matter no matter how you slice it, man. And just to give a spoiler, not. Sure, I don't know how many spoilers we're gonna you want to give here.
I feel like this one would have to be spoiled, otherwise there's like
can't
talk about it.
Otherwise, it's just Death Wish.
Yeah.
But
but so anyway, spoiler alerts from here on out. So like the revelation at the end that that what that guy says, man, is just fucking great, dude. He's basically like, you made me this monster, and I have this death, I have this blood on my hands because of you, So not only was he victimized by losing somebody, but he was victimized again because he couldn't help himself but from taking revenge.
Yeah. I mean, you could even take it a step back a little bit and think to yourself that the brother, his mentally challenged brother, made him the monster because of his inability to truly love and appreciate. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And he resents that, and so there you have a really dimensional character here in this guy, this anti-hero character,
right,
who has actual, there's thought given here, you know what I mean, to what is making this guy tick and what the consequences of his actions are. And that's more to bite into, for especially, look, again, there are revenge movies. You go to a drive-in, you're trying to pork your girlfriend in a drive-through, in your car in the drive-through, and you're just watching people get slaughtered in an exploitation. I get that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to talk about real movie making, there's a difference.
Yeah.
And
Dead Man's Shoes is real filmmaking.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. As low budget as it is, and just the fact that he resents his brother and what these people did that he resents himself for blaming his brother and not having, and here's the rub.
Well, he resents his brother for being who he is. He calls him an embarrassment to him.
Right. So and you know what?
There.
But somewhere
it really begins there. That man's journey begins there with the brother and being, and having these horrible thoughts that honestly are, if you're thinking that way, if you're putting him, if you're putting him like that, it's similar to what those hooligans were doing. He had no respect for his brother, much like the hooligans.
Yeah, and that's why how this character is so nicely drawn, is that he loves his brother too, right? Obviously,
man.
So he's got a lot of this self-hatred, and and like you said,
and it's all there throughout the movie. I'm sure if you go back and watch it, you could pick up on so much of it. I would almost guarantee. What did you think of the director? Using the brother as kind of like his he was on his side, for a good portion of the movie, as if he was,
or as if he, again, spoiler alert, as if he was still. I thought it was brilliant, man. I didn't even catch it. I didn't see it coming, and I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Something I want to give the Shane Meadows credit for is when you get that reveal. He didn't do the Sixth Sense Fight Club thing where you kind of you show some scenes again with he's just sitting by himself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's such a well thought out revenge film.
Yeah, and I don't know.
A breath of fresh air, honestly.
Absolutely, especially after Death Wish.
Death Wish, Max. He doesn't like Death Wish.
I didn't like Death Wish, but I had fun watching it. It's like watching a turd flush down the toilet. Always a pleasure.
So tell me, Max, I mean, are you digging this film too?
Yeah, I saw it when it came out. And I remember being fairly electrified by it.
Okay.
And I thought that the relationship between the brothers was really unique, and I thought it was an Irish film, but it turns out it's a British film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Featuring a lot of Irish actors.
Oh.
And it's so funny when I watch foreign films now, because I'll be honest, when I was younger and much more arrogant than I am now, I used to, I don't need to see any foreign films. I just need to see stuff made in America. I mostly love foreign films more than American films.
It's so funny, and I said this on a show not too long ago about just when you're watching a foreign film, it's like the fantasy becomes greater because you're not used to these locations, and they become more dreamlike because we're so used to seeing, films shot here in America, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and like the suburbs of America, everything just looks the same. But when you watch movies like recently on the show when we covered Under the Skin, or when we're doing a film like this, it's like the movie itself becomes more grand and fantastic because you're just taken to almost an otherworldly place.
Yeah, something I thought of recently, like something that really brings me out of the hypnosis of a movie is seeing someone driving like from New York into New Jersey and seeing those signs. Like I forget what I was watching recently, but like
the Sopranos.
Not The Sopranos, but something like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I hear you. I
can't remember.
You're calculating in your head, like, oh, I know where that is. I know exactly where that is. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
they're shooting.
Not even here. I know it, and it's not a movie anymore. It's just reality.
Right.
Like I could see like a film crew was there that day.
That's what I'm saying. So when I've spent time, and any time in my life when I've just said, well, you know what, I'm in the mood to go and watch a few foreign films. Whenever I do, man, like everything just becomes greater, because I'm not used to any of these places, and the dream just becomes more and more intense, and the story becomes more and more intense, and you get more involved, and you're just fascinated by these locations that you've just never seen before, and and it's just more rewarding to watch films. And also, I mean, honestly, they do a better job 9 times out of 10 than what we're doing. And I'm not saying that we have, all bad filmmakers here. I mean, trust me, there are filmmakers. I mean, the Coen brothers always make their locations interesting, no matter what they're doing. But when you're dealing with films from Europe and Asia, it just seems to me, it always seems to me that things are done with far more care.
Yeah, like you're not getting the right one in America.
No.
Well, they remade
it here, and you can. It's actually a really
I loved
job. It's a job well done.
Yeah, I love them both too. I just watched it with my daughter actually not too long ago. I watched that movie, the foreign one.
This is what's
the foreign one actually.
This just clicked in my head, just thinking about locations and thinking about foreign filmmakers. What's really fascinating is that listen, here in America, obviously we could dig up some better locations and make the stories seem more fantasy and get at what we're talking about here. Michael Haneke does an Austrian version of Funny Games, comes over here and films in America, and somehow finds like this exact location that's in Austria, here in America, So what I'm saying is that it's there for us. It's just that we're not.
Yeah.
We're just lazy, we're just.
Well, I don't know. Okay, I understand what you're saying, man. I understand that seeing a foreign film helps you more readily suspend your disbelief. But there's plenty of films out there that take you away, of course. But I do understand. I especially understand that the difference between mainstream Hollywood films. Just to qualify it, you have a certain expectation of how the film is gonna play out. Mm-hmm. And usually it plays out just like that, in one way or another. Mm-hmm. Where like a film like this, you get this, especially because the budget's so low, and you really get this sense that the cinema verite, or whatever, the shaky cam, as you say, Jeff, that anything can friggin' happen. Right. You know what I mean? And so you start you stop even guessing what is really going to happen. Although I will say that even in this film, the way that it's structured with the flashbacks is a little, that's a little bit of a tried and true bit of formulaic filmmaking there, like how there's like the slow reveal through the flashbacks. if it wasn't for the end, that wouldn't have, obviously the end played out masterfully, to salvage that. But it's funny that you guys are talking about the difference between New York filmmaking and this. I guess it was called East Midlands or whatever, where this was filmed, because this guy calls his film. Well, there's two funny references that like sort of are tangled to what we've been talking about. He calls this like it was a Travis Bickle movie, and they call I guess they're out there in local England or whatever the hell they're called these two guys Scorsese and De Niro of the East Midlands there, and this guy definitely has some Scorsese influences there, you know what I mean?
That's hilarious. But and then the other thing in that area, in that remote area. Jeff, that's like, you and I were probably the only guys writing in South Amboy last night. We could be considered the Coen brothers of South Amboy.
Yeah.
All right. What is this writing project? Can you talk about it?
No.
But wait, hold on a second. But look at when I heard that actually today. You look at his costume, and he's dressed like Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, which is pretty amazing. And then the other funny thing that I found on online today was that the guy's calling. He was doing an interview with one of these English talk chat shows, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't want to just go and make another Death Wish movie," which was pretty funny to hear him say.
Right. That's awesome. No, Max, not yet, but soon we'll let everybody know what's going on. I mean, once we really start fleshing out some stuff, we're just getting it off the ground. You know how that is.
Yeah, and to be fair, I brought it up. You didn't, but if you were to publicly talk about something that's not done, it would be annoying. But I brought it up.
Right, exactly.
And it's not. Yeah, it's not even that it's not done. There's like it's not started really.
Yeah, right? I mean, we were
like it's just the like.
Well, I'm just happy
that Tom
is doing something creative, but besides this show, I keep trying to say, "Hey, Tom, you should do the Tom Detloff show." Yeah, he's just not. So at least he's doing something.
Thank you. I feel good about it, and I felt good getting together with Jeff yesterday. Just bouncing ideas. I mean, that was great. I mean.
So when you bounce ideas, is it your idea to get together with him and bounce ideas, or is it his?
Well, I guess. How did it start, Jeff? I mean, was it a mutual?
I think over the past year, I'd say one of us will say, "Oh, we should get together."
We should get together, and
then we won't.
What is that dance? What is that dance? Because it's got to be easier for you guys than it is for creative people who don't know each other, and they keep saying, I'll be honest, I have a neighbor who keeps saying, "Let's get together, let's have lunch, we should talk," and he's a nice enough guy, and we've made a few lunch dates. And they've always fallen through. Either he's got too busy or I got too busy. It's like, why are we doing this dance?
Yeah, because it's all about the idea. I think with most of us, it's like the idea of doing something. That's enough. We don't have to actually go through with this.
I guess my point is I don't understand at my age how stuff gets done. Like I look at a Blue Ruin and I'm like, wow, they did it.
That's
who has the energy to raise the money and write the thing and shoot the stuff.
Yeah.
I would
that was I think you said it was 6 years or something it took them.
Right. It's like
I mean, Joe, you've done it. You've made movies. I mean, but you have the
man, it's funny because
your family to work.
Well, it's funny because I was watching those guys get interviewed, and I was curious about how they got that thing off the ground. That guy's working in the industry, and that's the difference. It's like he's working, scraping, and this and that and the other thing, and he's talking to people, investors, and this, and then he's got a little bit of Kickstarter. So he's working in the industry. I have a day job. I work. I'm a creative director, so I am working on projects every day. It's just not film projects. I mean, I'm basically working creatively.
But Joe, I'm doing nothing, and
that's not true. You just said you just let everybody know.
No, I know.
You have your own show
to a degree, but the fact that Joe works a full-time job and is still able to.
You don't work a full-time job anymore, right, Max?
Oh, I haven't worked a full-time job in a long time.
Oh, you don't? But do you like the kung fu?
Oh no, that's over. That's over.
Yeah. So what do? You run around your house? How many times?
This is the best.
What do you do to life? Huh?
What do you do? Seriously, you run around in your underwear? How many times a day you're masturbating over there?
A lot.
You do, right? Yeah. Twice a day at least, right?
At least, yeah.
Ooh.
Is that contributing to the lack of sex you're having with your wife?
Yes.
Oh.
But why? I'm still coming.
No,
but now that she's feeling better, I have to stop jerking off so I can save up my seed and redirect it away from dirty, filthy, awful porn women to a real, wonderful, beautiful woman who might actually
you have to moderate yourself, right?
What?
And do you have to moderate? You have to,
absolutely
you have to plan it out because you can't do it too many times a day.
I know for a fact, oh shit, she's feeling better. I gotta stop tugging it because sooner or later, it's time to be.
Now, do you ever worry that you're not gonna be able to, achieve fulfillment with your wife?
That's happened. Guys, we've been together for 20 fucking years. It happens.
Joe, has porn gotten in the way of your love life at all, ever?
Has it gotten in the way? No, not to the point where
it's always perfect for you.
No,
I'm the only one who's honest on this fucking show.
I'm asking these questions. I'm hitting the mark every time because I understand the issues involved.
That's what I'm saying. I think you've definitely had a morning and an afternoon where you might have went, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times, and that night you were like, this ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, well, okay, all right.
Have you ever?
Nothing. Listen,
let's just put it this way. I don't think it's something that's unfamiliar, that's alien to most males.
Just say, but you want to say no. Just say it. Talk about it.
I didn't say no. What are you talking about?
Did he not try to say no? Honestly, if you could go back, anybody that's listening, go back and listen to it.
You said get in the way.
Get in the way.
All right. Well, get in the way in what way?
The fact that you're not going to fuck your wife at night because you jerked off 2 or 3 times during the day. That's how. What are we talking about here? Watch.
That's terrifying. Honey, I'm kind of feeling it tonight. Oh, shit. I've been jerking off all day. What am I going to do?
It's never happened to you, Max?
Of course it's happened to me. I just said it.
Jeff, it's happened to you. Yes or no?
Panic sets in.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Not to Joe.
Oh, fuck. I've been beaten off to Dana Dearmond, and I've got to perform.
I'll tell you guys, my endless search of trying to get a porn actress on the show, it's just, I go every month or so, I go and I try, and I got to get one of these chicks on the show to talk to us. This will be the greatest show ever.
Is it that hard?
It is. Yeah, they.
Have you tried Kelly Wells?
No, I think.
What about Hillary Scott?
Well, I'll write these names down. Thank God I don't have a girlfriend to fuck tonight. And what was the other one? Hillary Scott?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
She's all
now. Which show is this going to be on? Is this going to be on like a Jean Renoir show or something? Or
no,
Von Trier too.
But that chick we had, Joe, on last year.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
She's done porn. I found it.
Samantha Mack.
Yeah, she's fucked on film. I've watched it.
Lovely.
I have seen it.
No, we need somebody who's like kind of, in the industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She that girl sounds like she dabbles because she needs attention.
Yes.
Who's that chick that writes the horror novels? Is she a porn star?
Sarah Brooke?
Yeah.
She's not a porn star. What question is that?
I like Sarah, man.
Do you get those random emails that make you feel like she's reaching out to you, but she's reaching out to everyone, but she makes it like she's totally talking to you?
You know what Sarah has? Yeah. What Sarah has that I envy is the ability for self-promotion.
Yeah, she's great at that shit. Hi, Max. Yeah. I'm really hoping you'll read my new book. I have it downloaded on this and that, and you can get it on your Kindle. Hey, are you talking to me directly? No. It's like...
Yeah, no, I totally know what you're saying. Yeah, because I get them emails too. Hi, Tom.
That's the way that she's good at
Tom.
it.
Yeah.
I know. Listen, I'm not faulting the girl. I mean, she's amazing at it. It's just like, you're not really talking to me. She doesn't know anything about my life. Hi, Max. How are your pugs? At least you could throw that in. Hi, Max.
Yeah, but Wendy Zazo Phillips, she loves you though. She's like
Wendy Zazo Phillips is my girl.
What about that book she was writing, Joe, with the character named Max with the bowler hat that was coming at her sexually?
That was insane.
Wasn't she like, my legs were spread wide open, and Max came into the room wearing a bowler wearing a bowler hat.
Hold on.
Hey, man.
That's good branding.
Yeah. Dude, she totally loves you, Max. It's amazing.
All right, I have the book. I have the book right here, actually. Oh, if I hope to God I earmark that page.
Yeah, please, if you could read an excerpt from Wendy Phillips' book. Joe.
I don't think I
did. We'll wait for a minute, but
yeah, go ahead. Continue.
Otherwise, we're gonna.
It would definitely be worth it if I could find.
Let me ask you a question: has she ever, really come on to you in a flirtatious way? No.
I talked to her on the phone once, and she was lovely. I mean, she's got her husband Dinius. I like Dinius.
What was it like being on her podcast?
Well, listen, I think they are fiercely intelligent people. I don't know that they're real talk behind microphone people.
Right.
But I enjoy myself.
Right. I mean, it does to do a show, to be on a show, to move a show. It's tough, right?
Wait, what was that?
I said it takes
you got to keep it moving. You can't take.
You could be smart. You could be the smartest guy in the world, but you have to have a sense.
You got to have a gift of gab, and you got to have a listen. Nothing is more fun. Nothing was more fun if we're going back in time real quick, because Jeffrey did bring up the Horror Palace.
Right.
One of the most surreal hours of talking behind a fucking Skype microphone was the night where I was with Bill Shetty and Billy. Just those two guys.
Oh my God! On the Grizzly Zone.
On Grizzly Zone.
Why was it so weird?
Tom, Bill Shetty and Billy Barassa and remember Billy had the vest and the white shirt.
And the candles burning in the background.
Candles burning. Yeah. And all of a sudden he was nice, Billy. He was actually nice to me.
Right.
And Shetty, okay, now we're gonna talk about, and it was the worst. A bunch of people stuck in a shitty motel get killed movie. I mean, it was the worst. Horror movies I would never watch. And I'm trying to make mountains out of molehills, and I don't know what. Okay, let's go over to Billy and see what he thinks.
That was a tougher experience because I know when.
No, not tougher, surrealer.
Surrealer. All right.
Got to have Shetty on this show. I'm fascinated by
I always try to bring him in, but I usually, I do it around Halloween, Max, and either yes or he said no.
In my world, Halloween is daily. Stop with the Halloween. It's always Halloween.
I don't want to put any pressure on you, Max, because everybody.
Me? I want to talk to that Shetty.
Okay, so listen to me. I'm gonna try to come up with a solution here.
I look at the schedule of the new cutting rooms. No Shetty. What happened to him? I'm too scared to do a podcast. And now he's back with a podcast. I haven't heard it, but I'm dying to.
It's called Horror on the Go.
Horror on the Go.
Yeah. But listen, what I'm going to suggest is this, real quick, that we could do. You're going to have another show by the end of the season that you're going to format. You get 2 shows this season. All right. I say you go horror, dude. Bring some horror back. I hated to hear that you think that you can't bring horror to the show. Bring some horror. Bring some horror. After the West Hollywood Hills show, your next one, bring some horror, and we'll bring some Bill Shetty. And those nuts, those horror movie nuts, it's easy to get those actors in that. It's easy. They love it. They'll come on. We'll have a party.
All right. We're going to have Jason Hawkins on.
Yeah, right. That guy. Ugh.
I'm sorry, guys. I can't find that page, unfortunately.
Wait. I just talked about Bill Shetty for 5 minutes, trying to give you fucking.
Tom, this book is 7,000 pages long.
All right. Well, listen. I don't know if you're into this, but maybe if you find some time over the next, before we post the show, maybe we could post the excerpt for people to read. on the show.
Didn't I send you the page number, Max? Do you have any idea?
I don't remember.
I know.
Go back and look at some emails 2 years ago.
Let me see. I have it. Let me see. I have it right here.
Oh, yes.
Uh-oh.
Because I definitely told you the page number.
I have it. I have it bookmarked.
And for anyone that's listening, if they seriously want to listen to us talk about actual revenge films, please go back and listen to our previous episode, Blue Ruin. We spent a good 30 minutes on it. So go back and listen to that. This has been a nonstop hijinks episode.
Every time Max is on it, it's like freeform, complete freeform.
Max, you got 10 seconds to do this. Otherwise, I'm moving on.
I know, and this is the problem. I can't freaking find it either, man.
My eyes are crossing. I'm so.
All right. Well, listen, you guys could stop me at any point if you do find it while I'm doing the outro. But I do want to thank Jeff. I want to thank Max Cook. I want to thank Joe Christiana. I definitely want to thank Jeffrey Spector for stopping by tonight and talking to us about Charles Bronson and Mike and all kinds of other wacky stuff. It was awesome. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast is brought to you by Christiana Productions and New Media Limited. The show is edited and co-produced by Joseph Schreck and produced by Thomas Detloff and Joe Christiana. We'd also like to thank our associate producer, Jeremy Garcia of Dartboard Cinema. Check out his podcast, Dartboard Cinema. You could like us on Facebook at The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. And follow me on Twitter, Thomas Detloff at TCRM Podcast. I'm going to stop right there because Twitter's on my mind. Real quick, Max, what happened with you on Twitter? Real quick.
Oh, I get no joy from Twitter.
So it's over.
Oh, yeah. I deactivated my...
All right. You could also check out Joe's film work at ChristianaProductions.com. Check out Max and Adam's Bowler Hat Productions and their Mimosa podcast show at MaxCookandTheCounselor.com. And get to Max Cook's blog at MaxCookUncorked.com. Music from The Cutting Room is done by the Zillatones. Check them out at www.thezillatones.com or search for the Zillatones at ReverbNation.com. We're going to be back next week. And Joe, I think you get the picks now, right?
That's right.
You're very excited?
Yeah, I think we have some good picks. What are
they?
Well, next week we're doing Only God Forgives. And then we're doing our 2 weeks after that, our classic review is Spring Breakers and Solaris.
And what?
Solaris. Unfortunately, Max, you're not on the show.
Yeah, I know. Spring Breakers. Oh, that soundtrack's so good. Well, all right. Good on Joe. It's it's Harmony. You're back in Harmony territory.
Yes, we are. And then then I think we come back with one of your shows and we get some Larry Clark. So
yes.
We got Harmony Crime.
I'm all behind my curation of the holiday.
As always, as usual, I'm really going to do my very best to get either Harmony Crime or Larry Clark on the show. I think since we've had Leo Fitzpatrick on the show before, I might be able to bridge that Larry Clark thing for you, Max.
Oh, that'd be great. Larry
would be so awesome. I will. All right, guys.
I'm coming on that one if you get Larry Clark.
We are over, and we are out. Ciao.
Satisfy more of your strange desires. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. We do chicken right.
Sometimes, most times, it's best to wait till the end of the story to make a judgment. What might at first seem like overreacting becomes a bit more, let's say, appropriate as the story goes. Take Harry Potter, for example. Professor Snape is on what seems to be a baseless and unwarranted campaign against Harry for most of the series, until you find out that as a kid he had been bullied by Harry's father and his love for Harry's mother had been spurned. There's usually a reason. I'm sorry for the Harry Potter spoilers, everybody. For the bulk of Dead Man's Shoes, Shane Meadows' psychological shaky cam thriller, we see Richard, played by a damaged-looking Paddy Considine, co-writer with Meadows, seeking and plotting revenge against a goofy circus of minor criminals. In a series of black and white Super 8 flashbacks, the gang has lured Anthony, Richard's mentally challenged brother, into their party house. They mess around with him, as any group of people with no ethics and almost no real power in the world might do to someone with even less power than they have.
And he got a little creative. Thankfully, it's a decent script, and it winds up being probably one of the better revenge films that I've ever screened personally.
Yeah, well, it just to the point that I was making before. These revenge films, they can be gratifying and wish fulfillment. Like you get to live out your fantasies and exact revenge on on people, on your enemies and everything. But it doesn't mean that they need to be dumb. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And just empty and meaningless, and that was the point that I made with Death Wish. And here you have a guy who has very limited means, but understands what makes a revenge film or revenge tale good. Because again, these films go back to Hamlet and fucking the beginning of time, really, you know. And it always the most interesting thing to me. Look, I love acting out in my fantasies of exacting revenge as much as the next guy, but
the audience gets a little bit more of the story each time it cuts to that day's events. But as shitty as their actions are, Richard seems a little overzealous about his revenge, especially when it starts to turn deadly. Anthony, for all of his trouble, seems to have escaped that day with no apparent physical trauma. But the bonds of family are strong, and the feeling of duty to protect someone close like a sibling, especially one that can't watch out for himself, is a powerful motivator. Richard decides to put on a gas mask and starts toying with the group, scaring them and vandalizing their homes, and even them personally at one point early on, painting several to look like clowns, appropriate for a group of 6 who spend the bulk of the film crammed into a tiny car. With the mask and his ability to remain a step ahead of his targets, Richard comes off like a deluded small-town Batman. As he starts killing the members of the gang, the balance of reason and vengeance begins to tip in a negative direction. The more you get to see of Anthony's awful day, the more the scale evens back up. When Richard gets to the final guy, the one who escaped the criminal life and was against what the gang did to Anthony but did nothing, the audience gets the final piece of the story, which gives Richard...
Well, as a sentient being, somebody who has a brain who likes to at least think that they have a brain in their head, there's a little bit something more dimensional to it, and that's where this film is actually really inventive, and it surprised me, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it's vigilante, the idea around what the vigilante is doing, it's shifting throughout the story, and the flashback scenes are
that last couple of minutes, man, is good filmmaking, period.
Yeah.
No matter how you slice it, man. And just to give a spoiler, not sure, I don't know how many spoilers we're gonna you want to give here.
I feel like this one would have to be spoiled, otherwise there's can't talk about it.
Otherwise it's just Death Wish.
Yeah. But so anyway, spoiler alerts from here on out. So like the revelation at the end that that what that guy says, man, is just fucking great, dude. He's like, he's basically like, you made me this monster, and I have this death, I have this blood on my hands because of you, so
it's something of an excuse for his rampage, but also shows the extent to which his psyche has been damaged by his brother's fate. That's it.
That's it.
I love Shrek's abrupt endings.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was just getting comfortable.
Yeah, it's like crescendo, coitus.
I personally think, guys, I mean, through my experience of the 3 films, I found this one to be the most creative and probably the best out of the three. Am I wrong, Joe?
Yeah, man, I did too. Not the best produced, obviously.
No, not at all.
Absolutely the best film, and that just goes to show you that production. Well, Death Wish wasn't anything to really marvel at as production wise either. But I mean, they were both big. The one was a big budget film. Death Wish was sort of big budget, and the other one had a serious budget. But this guy actually just took to true guerrilla filmmaking.
Absolutely,
and went shot stuff.